Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this show runs through the ages. Sinners and saints, goblins and haints, but beware as they say we're contagious. Sick with the truth, we uncover the lies. We beat on the drums as they march side by side. Wake up, my dear friends, and smell that fresh roast. Last night shall no longer exist. You're here by yourself, but you're never alone, as we spin stories you'll hear in the mist. Reptilians and greys, we folk who stay hidden. Mysterious booms, archaeology forbidden. Stay away from the village, keep off of the moors. There's a lady in white and bloodstains on the floor. So sit back and relax, take the load off your feet, as we're here to amaze, entertain, and complete. You see, my name is John, and Stacy's here too, and my, do we have something in store for you. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow, with your host, authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacy Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacy.
Hello.
And it's about that time. Let's get some headlines, Stacy.
Oh, we have some great headlines today. So I'm going to start with this first one. Now, I know that you haven't read this story yet. It's a new story, and it's going to blow your mind. So this is a story about... Wow. This is a story about the former head of Israel's space program and what he claimed in a new interview that he's done. Now, his name is Haim Eshed, and he's 87, and he helmed Israel's space security program from 1981 to 2010. And he was doing an interview with an Israeli paper, and I'm just going to read to you all of the things that he claimed in this interview. So he claimed that space aliens have reached an agreement with the U.S. government to stay mum on the experiments that they conduct on Earth, as well as the secret base that they have on Mars, until mankind is ready to accept them. Now, of course, in this article, they immediately tried to discount what he was saying and acting like he was kind of crazy, and that's sort of what this Israeli paper did as well. But he was not deterred. He went on, and he also
How old
said,
is he again?
87. He said Trump was on the verge of revealing the aliens' existence, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, just let the people calm down first. And he said they don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understanding and be ready to know that they have been around.
Be a few years.
Now, he also claims that there is an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens, that they signed a contract with them to do the experiments here. And that they, too, speaking of the aliens, are researching and trying to understand the whole fabric of the universe. They are just as interested in it as, we are. And he claims that there's an underground base in the depths of Mars where their representatives are, and also where we have American astronauts that we have already set foot on Mars and are working there in conjunction with them.
Wow. Kind of a lot like the Canadian former defense minister, Paul Hellyer.
Yeah.
Advanced in age and really just, tired of this stuff. He first came out with everything that he knew, and then he started finding out more. And of course, when you're in positions like that, or have been in positions like that, you get phone calls, and he has talked about the Galactic Federation on things that we have listened to many times.
Yes.
He's talked about treaties. He's talked about all this. Now, this was all just, things that he had heard from sources, and it's a lot like what Hasham is saying here. With, it's obviously he's an older gentleman.
He is.
And he's coming out. I mean, this is one of our greatest allies. This is not some third world country here that we're talking about.
No, true. And I do like what he said during this interview. He claims that, if he had come out saying this just 5 years ago, that people would have said that he was crazy and tried to have him hospitalized.
I mean, he did end the interview with "May the Schwartz be with you," but
but he said that recently he feels like people are starting to change the way they think about it, and that people are already talking differently. He has nothing to lose. He's already got his degrees. He's already got his awards. He's already been respected in universities.
Did he throw all that in?
He did, but he claims
he's still trying to get laid too.
He claims that the trend
I've already got
is
my
changing.
degrees. I've already got my awards. I've got one right here. You want to see it? I wear this one around my neck.
But now I believe that is true. I think that people are more apt to believe the alien theory now.
Well, yeah, and they're also more apt to believe people from government that have spent their whole life getting their awards and getting their degrees. Just it works that way. It's a lot better than Cousin Louie in the double wide down here. Not that there's anything wrong with the double wide. There's something wrong with Cousin Louie, but he comes out and he's like, they probe me right here, and no one believes him. He can have blood and wires coming out his butt, and they are not going to believe that he didn't put the roll up there. So of course he could have. Let's quit using Cousin Louie. But all joking aside, this is a big story, and this is New York Post. It's one of those that the more covered up it gets, the more I'll believe it. But he's coming out and saying some things that anybody in ufology that follows, maybe more the fringe subjects like I do. I follow it all, but I don't stop when the rabbit hole gets deep. Let's just say that, because I think you need to take it all in. You really, when you're dealing with this subject, do you really know what you can throw out and what you can't? I mean,
no.
Here's the whole deal. We got people taking completely serious the fact that this thing can go from 0 to light speed and do physics that's completely impossible. I mean, the physics that we've seen in released videos, there should be splattered alien brains over the sides of the windows.
Right.
And the very fact they can do what they do. And we have very respected current servicemen and women that have come out and said, okay, look, they're going to laugh at us, but here's what we've seen. And then you got great work like by James Fox, right, that goes out here and makes these incredible documentaries, puts everything into it, and nicest guy on the planet probably when you see an interview with him, but he gets some really good interviews but he still he's afraid to put the very fringe things in there,
right? Even
though he gets told those things. Reminds me of Max, Max Mitchell we used to talk to. I could get him in about 30-40 minutes in, and then I'd ask him, because he was all scientific, it was all like, well, that was where they landed, John, and they did see that. Now, this is all just what the eyewitness seen, but you get about 30-45 minutes in, you can tell he's getting tired.
Right.
I'll be like, so what's the strangest thing you ever seen, Max? Well, I had this friend that went blind, but he could see aliens, and he could see in the reptilian.
That's when you get the good stories.
In reptilian form, and so I used to have a clock when I'd interview him. Be like, about 35 minutes. All right, Max, so tell me what's really going on. And so I don't know, man. This to me is a really big story. Did he say anything else?
Not according to this article, and I haven't had a chance to see the interview itself. This is a new story. So according to this article, that was basically all the points that they included in here, but it seems to me like he hit basically everything. I thought it was interesting that he said the thing about Trump being on the verge of revealing the existence of aliens, because I feel like there was a time during the presidency this time where
he said
there
he'll
were
look
things
into it.
That were going to be revealed, but then all of a sudden it was like a 180 on that.
Yeah, well, he said there were some very interesting things. But I mean, look, if you're Donald Trump, are you really going to say anything about aliens? I mean,
no.
This guy couldn't say anything without them, they're going to pick it apart.
Right.
That's just the nature of the beast, right? So, and I've also noticed in the other camp politically that it's almost like whoever's going to reveal to try to get popular support now, because I've seen something come out this past week from Biden's camp saying that, oh, by the way, once Joe gets in office, he's going to release all this stuff. And it is the same camp.
Right.
You have Podesta. Remember in the Podesta emails, the most interesting thing, everybody else was looking for smoking bombs, and Smoking bombs, Jesus Christ. Everybody's looking for smoking guns.
That's what they do right before they explode.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with those.
Smoking too many bongs. But the smoking gun, they're looking for, and we're in there looking for UFO stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there was quite a bit.
Right.
That's where the whole Tom DeLonge thing came from, because we all found out that he was, bugging Podesta.
Yep.
Podesta's probably like, God, this guy, I don't even know what a Blink-182 is. Is that a code? Do I blink 182 times? You should probably see a doctor about that.
Concerned.
It's but yeah, that's a very interesting story. I don't blame you for headlining this one. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell the people how this happened, all right? Because I'm all about
transparency
and disclosure.
Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead, tell everybody.
So I get stories for Stacy. Stacy gets stories for Stacy. Mm-hmm. And I was looking up stories, and I found a few, found a few good ones. Mm-hmm. Found a few that I'll send her every week, hoping that she'll eventually use them, because it's the sequence of things that happens weekly that I think Stacy's part of the cover up, but that's a whole nother story. I'm talking about mysterious booms. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'll send her like 3 or 4 a week. She never uses them. She never uses them. She's laughing right now because she knows
I didn't get them this
that
time
she
either.
never uses them. There was one happened yesterday that shook, like foundations of houses. They have no idea. It's been happening for 2 months. Mm-hmm. There's no scientific explanation for it. Just saying.
I know, but that's the story every time.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be an explanation.
Right. But as long as people don't talk about it, Stacy, I'm kind of known for this. And I have sent you 14 stories in the past 3 weeks.
Well, maybe we should start a new segment. Where were the mysterious booms this week?
Yeah, well, maybe we will.
Can just start listing the
maybe
places.
That new host that I get there will just be the Mysterious Boom Show with John. Yeah, so what was I even talking about? Till I got mad about your... Oh, yeah. So
how you got the story.
I'm sorry. How I got the story. So I was sitting there and I was getting my halftime stuff ready. And as I was getting my halftime stuff ready with the new format here, I got a ping in my brain. That sounds way weirder than just saying that I psychically got something.
You received a message.
Yeah. Let's just say I received a message. There you go.
Okay.
I received a ping in my brain. It's like ping.
There's something going on in there. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, I looked it up by what I heard and word for word, and that was the story. Mm-hmm. And then I sent it to Stacy. I was like, hey, you might want to use this one. And I guess she hadn't seen it.
I had not seen it.
It was from the day.
Only a couple hours old.
Yeah. So pretty neat. And a big wind just hit me right in the face. Did you feel that?
I did not. No wind on my side of the table.
That was really strange.
It's very strange. Yes. No, I hadn't seen this story because normally by this time before the show, I've already got most of my stories and I'm sort of just arranging them. So,
yeah.
All right. So let's go on to our next headline. You ready? Mm-hmm. And this is about some leaked reports from the Pentagon UFO Task Force that discuss, quote, non-human technology and mysterious objects.
Wow.
So while I tell you this story here, I'm going to pass you this picture because I know you haven't seen it yet. So you just take a look at that. So this is about 2 classified reports from the Pentagon's task force that have been leaked. And this is an article on a website called thedebrief.org, who supposedly received this information from a FOIA request. And they ended up getting some email exchanges from last year that were dated October of 2019 that had some email exchanges between high-ranking military officials. And this particular leaked photo that you're looking at, it was taken off the East Coast of the United States by a pilot's personal cell phone. And it was part of this report. And there was a list of possible explanations discussed, including the fact that it could be, quote, alien or non-human technology.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm looking at these pictures, and, to my knowledge, we don't have anything like that. And of course, you're a fighter pilot or whatever, I would say you would kind of know. This is really strange, folks, okay? There's 2 pictures submitted. And the one picture showing you that it's inside the cockpit, and you're supposed to be able to see the craft as well. In that photo, I guess you can zoom in or whatever. You can sort of see the atmosphere, the horizon, and all that. And I would guess a reflection from the pilot's helmet even lines up for that. And I'm not saying it's not that reflection of the pilot's helmet, but I swear to God, if you look at the second picture, it looks like a gray alien. It looks like the reflection of a gray alien.
It's really very strange.
And it's very, very strange that is the reflection that is made. I mean, I'm sure it's pareidolia, right? But I mean, my God, does that not just at first glance look like a gray alien?
It does. And one thing that's a little bit strange about this particular report is that when I looked at the news story, the pictures that I pulled off would not come up in the news story. Like it just gave me the broken link thing. And I had to go to other news stories that supposedly took the pictures from the original. I had to sort of piece it together from other things. And I think that there is another picture that I couldn't find that talks about a cube-shaped object. And see, this one looks more like an upside-down bell-shaped object. But there was supposedly two different reports, two different pictures. Now, in this particular article that I was looking at, they did speak to Nick Pope.
Of course they did.
Because that's who you call
Yeah.
when you want to talk about something UFO. And he claims that some of the things that he found interesting about the reports and the emails is that one of the insiders claimed it was shocking. And he says that that's not something they would normally say. Like, what would somebody that was investigating UAPs find shocking exactly?
Right.
I mean, if that's your job and you say that you find something that's shocking, that's alarming. He also says that the intelligence reports seem to have been given a surprisingly wide distribution in various intelligence agencies, which is unusual. And they haven't genuinely taken the extraterrestrial hypothesis off the table. Like, they're seriously keeping that on the table. And he said that he expects further leaks because he believes that there is a faction within the government that clearly wants this information to leak out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a very confusing thing. It's something I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on to make sure that I've got all the correct pictures with the correct information. Because like I said, it was really disjointed trying to look it up.
I mean, if you look at this thing, the direction you need to look at is, if you're looking at the photo and you turn upside down, it looks, the best way I can describe the shape is the Star Trek emblem they wear. It looks exactly like that shape. Federation of Planets, whatever.
Right.
The badge, and except it's got spikes, and that's the best way I could put it. Is there's two spikes on each side, and there's a spike in the front. So very much like your helmet bell shape kind of thing, like she's saying, or the Star Trek A looking deal. And it's got these two weird spikes that makes it not look terrestrial to me. On two on each side and then one on top, which is very, very strange. It's like somebody launched a Genghis Khan helmet or something. But
well, I feel like this is a newer leak, and it's not really widely distributed yet. So I'm hoping that there'll be more information that comes out along with it. I
saw it from our good friend Dave, Spaced Out. He had shared it, and I thought it was cool then. But yeah, it's definitely strange, man.
Yeah. So just a cool, it's amazing what you get.
We'll have to make sure that
requests.
those pictures are on the website, because as much as we've talked about them, folks, to just go to paranormalsideshow.com. She'll make sure that that's on there at least.
Yes, I will put the pictures up on the page for the
episode.
episode.
And we hope you guys like the timestamps from last week. So.
All right, so let's go on to our next headline, and this is about something that they found in space that they can't explain. Scientists are baffled.
Scientists are baffled. Available now at our t-shirt store.
So I thought this was really interesting because it's sort of like when we had the fast radio bursts, and they started happening all of a sudden, and scientists had no idea what they were or where they came from. It's something similar to that. It seems like there are more and more things now that they're getting these more powerful telescopes and better technology. They're finding more things where they're really just like, we have no idea what that is, and they have no explanation for it. So what they're calling these are orcs, or odd radio circles. And they sort of fall into this unofficial category of things that seem like they shouldn't exist because they can't explain how they're made or where they came from.
So like out of place phenomena. Oops.
So a team of astronomers have found 2 mysteriously ghostly circles of radio emissions, and they've already ruled out all of the things that they feel like they know it could have been. And like supernova remnants, that doesn't fit.
So it's radio emissions that looks like space goo.
Right.
It's probably like Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You, just floating out in space.
So these are definitely an enigma. They've gone through their list of every single phenomenon that they know, including radio galaxies, which is like a galaxy that emits radio wavelengths. It's not that. Supermassive black holes, it's not that. Like every single thing they know that could possibly make this sort of radio emission, none of those things fit exactly. And it's not something that they see over and over and over again. Like it's new. It's the first time they've ever seen it. They just showed up. So no idea what they are or where they come from. And they're going to use their ASCAP telescope to study it further.
Well, they're definitely not going to use their Puerto Rican telescope.
No.
Man, that was some fun stuff.
That's
if you haven't watched the slow-mo of that thing going down, you don't know what you're missing. I watched the breakdown from the GoPro and the one that was up there on the drone. Man, that was nice. We just did the story on them decommissioning that telescope, and
yeah, I put something in there in my updates about them, the whole thing collapsing, because it's sad. It was terrible.
It was still fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. But anyway, interesting thing from the universe. They don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
space ghosts
it looks
is what they're calling them.
It looks like space spooge. I mean, it's just from what they show there. But yeah, I mean, it could be anything, right? It could be intelligent life for all we know. Just a form of ethereal intelligent life.
Yeah, or something that intelligent life is doing.
Yeah.
It's causing these weird radio circles. Blurps. That's a good name for them.
It is, yeah.
All right, so before we finish our opening headlines, let's just go back and talk about these monoliths that have been going on. Now, normally I would just put this in an update section, but it's just been so strange and so viral that I really just wanted to go over it again.
I don't believe they're taking it serious anymore.
No,
I keep waiting for
so.
Graham Chapman to walk in his military suit and be like, hold on now. We're not taking this serious anymore. It's become silly. It's just become silly. We need to move along.
Exactly. Just keep it moving. All right. So if you remember from last week's show, we talked about the monolith in Utah, and they found it when they were counting the bighorn sheep, which we also talked about quite a bit. Then it was mysteriously gone. And then we talked about the one that popped up in Romania, which was a little bit different, but it was still strange. So, we talked about the one in Utah disappearing. So since that time, there has been video emerging of the people that came and dismantled the monolith in Utah. It was like 4 men. They came out, they pushed it over, they dismantled it, and they wheelbarrowed it out of there. There was a photographer there that happened to be there when they showed up that night. It was about 8:30 or 8:40 on the Friday night that they disassembled it. And eventually, one of the gentlemen that did the disassembling, his name is Andy Lewis, he took credit for removing the sculpture with his group, claiming that they didn't like what was happening to the area because of it, because people were coming out in droves to see it. It was destroying the area and it shouldn't have been there in the first place. And so they took it upon themselves to remove it. So since then, monolith hysteria has just gone crazy. They have been popping up everywhere. And so I've just got this list of sort of like a timeline of what has happened with the monolith craze. Are you ready to hear this? All right. So the first one, of course, November 18th was in Utah. We talked about that one extensively. And then you had the second one in Romania. Now it was just the same size, same shape, but it was not sleek and shiny. It was more like you could see the buffing on the outside. It was very strange, but it was there. And I believe it mysteriously disappeared as well. Then, of course, we had one in California. and it was spotted on Pine Mountain in California, and it was not secured to the ground. It could be knocked down easily. So the next day, a group of men, some Christian people, knocked it down and replaced it with a cross.
Oh.
I believe they had some very interesting things to say about aliens are not coming here, and here's a cross. And
well, they believe aliens came here before.
Something like that. Now, it turns out that there's been a group of artists that have taken credit for the monolith, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to break into our monolith appearances here just because this is about in the timeline where this group of artists have taken credit for the monoliths, and the group is known as the Most Famous Artists, and they posted a photo of the monolith on their Instagram account, and they claim that they are the ones that did it and started offering a monolithasaservice.com where they would sell you an authentic dimension and museum quality monolith for $45,000 completely installed where you want it. They showed some pictures of the monolith, and they showed a picture of a man making a monolith.
Did they also want to tell you how Stonehenge was built and explain the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, this group is supposedly a group that have been associated with other projects sort of like this. Like, I think it said they changed the Hollywood sign one time to say Hollyweed. Mm-hmm. I don't know, something like that. My problem with it is every news article you read about it, none of the links to the Instagram where they supposedly posted these pictures work. And if you go to their Instagram, it's a private account where you have to request to be added to follow to see any of the pictures. And they didn't offer any actual proof that they did it.
Yeah.
Like, they just said they did it and showed a guy making one that looks something like it.
Yeah, like I said, you're not going to be able to believe anything that comes out. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. If it's fake, it's fake. They're going to keep faking it and fake it to death. Mm-hmm. And if it's real, then they'll fake other ones to try to make that first one look fake.
Right.
You know, it could just as easily be the government that came out to disassemble and just, have the photographer there to take the pictures. I don't see a group of men that are coming out there to take that in that area that you can't trespass, being okay with people showing them taking that thing away when they could get in trouble for that. I don't know. I mean, it's
yeah, and like this group of artists, it seems like they've just
I think we sit on this. I think we just sit on this and wait. Because there's one that appeared in the Netherlands today, you know.
Well, they also had one after the California one. There's one in Nevada that just appeared like right in the middle of downtown Las Vegas. I don't even know how that happened with nobody seeing it. Las Vegas, people are awake all the time. The one on Sunday in the Netherlands was on a nature reserve, which was also very strange. Nobody could tell how long it had been there because it was out in a remote location. On Sunday, another one was found on the Isle of Wight, off of the south coast of England in the UK, and it was 10 feet tall and reflective, just like the first one. And there was a couple that have been seen sort of in Colorado, not exactly the same, but again, they were still monoliths. And the last one I heard about recently was there is a supposed golden monolith in Colombia. Now, this one, there's pictures of it on social media, but I don't think anyone's specifically been to it to have an eyewitness sighting that's come forward.
Oh,
But there are pictures of a golden monolith in Colombia.
Well, there you go.
So it's like this weird monolith craze now. People are just popping up. Be careful. Don't be buying $45,000 monoliths because you think it's the original one. That's just silly.
Yeah, I mean, it's all silly. It's very cool, but in one sense, like I said last week, it could be something amazing, and we could find out in a few weeks.
That's true.
That's
true. And, it could be one thing was amazing, and the rest of it is just to distract you from the amazing thing.
It could be the aliens from the first story going, all right, what we're going to do, Nanu, is we're going to put the monolith down there, and if these stupid chimps want to build 4,000 of them, we'll know it's not time yet. So we'll see.
We'll see what happens when it stops and if somebody pinpoints where every single one is. And
well, thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
I'm done with them. I don't want any more updates off that. We're going to do mysterious booms instead next week.
Of course. I'll bring 900 mysterious boom stories next week.
You better.
Yes.
Unless there's like a really cool crystal monolith.
I haven't heard of a crystal one yet.
Or if somebody starts doing cocaine off the golden one.
I think the joke is that the golden one is the one monolith that rules them all.
Well, there you go. It's my favorite one then.
There you go.
You give me a little token monolith. I'm all for it. That's all you had to do. All you had to say. So what's coming up after halftime?
Well, we've got some updates of some stories we talked about before that'll be really interesting, some new information. We've got some cool discoveries, things they found, some things that could be millions of years old. And we've got a cool paranormal story,
There you
theater,
go.
and some more interesting little just funny stuff. Tidbits. Yeah.
I like the tidbits.
Yes.
And I also like halftime, so here we go. All right, well, starting with halftime, I've got something I got to mention here. This is just crazy. So 2012, remember that year?
I do.
I bet we talked about this in that year. Anyway, a Live Science article from 2012. You can go look this one up for yourself. It's very strange, and it was just something cool to me. I was looking at patterns, and the reason I was thinking about the thing from a year ago, pretty much a year ago to the week on our show, we were talking about this cool little funny meme that we put up on the sideshow, and Carter put it up, and everybody put it up. It was a bunch of stuff, but it was talking about all these epidemics and the plagues, and how every like 1820, 1920, and 2020 we're like, yeah, you better watch out.
I remember.
And then of course we got hit with the death.
Right.
So that was pretty interesting. Right?
I agree.
So anyway, I like patterns. And I was looking at patterns, and I was thinking, that's really weird. So I started looking up patterns about 2020 and see if there's any other patterns. And I found this article from Live Science 2012. And this is crazy, folks. Remember, this is 2012 that I'm reading this from, okay? Circa 1870, the North fought the South in the Civil War. Half a century later, around 1920, worker unrest, racial tensions, and anti-communist sentiment caused another nationwide upsurge of violence. Then 50 years later, the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement triggered a third peak in violent political, social, and racial conflict. 50 years after that will be 2020. If history continues to repeat itself, we can expect a violent upheaval in the United States in a few years. It sounds like pseudoscience, but it's in my published theory. My model suggests that the next peak in violence will be worse than that one in 1970 because demographic variables such as wages, standards of living, and a number of measures in intra-elite confrontation are all much worse this time, says Peter Turchin, an ecologist, evolutionary biologist, and mathematician at the University of Connecticut. Turchin has led the development of a field of study called cliodynamics, in which scientists attempt to find meaningful patterns in history. The endeavor flies in the face of the traditional study of history, which assumes that the countless variables interacting within a society lead to chaotic fluctuations in outcomes like violence and social unrest. Massimo Pigliucci, real name, a philosopher from the science of Lehman College, said most historians believe that the factors at play are so many and are so variable that there's little reason to expect quasi-regular cycles or a unified theory to explain them. You're wrong, buddy. But Turchin argues there is order in the chaos after all. In the new study, Turchin, who reported his results in the July issue of the Journal of Peace Research, compiled historical data about violent incidents in the United States between 1780 and 2010, including riots, terrorism, assassinations, and rampages. The data indicates that a cycle of violence repeats itself every 50 years in America. Like a wave that peaks in every other generation, this short-term cycle is superimposed over another longer-term oscillation that repeats every 200 to 300 years. The slower waves in violence can either augment or suppress the 50-year peaks, depending on how the two cycles overlap. The longer cycle is the one which we understand much better, and it is a universal feature of all complex societies. Turchin told Life's Little Mysteries. From the Roman Empire to medieval France to ancient China, scholars have noted that societies swing between 100 and 150 years of relative peace and 150 years of conflict, and then back again. Only some societies exhibit the shorter term and the less subtle 50-year-long cycles of violence along the way. The Roman Empire, for one. And if Turchin's theory is correct, the United States will as well. Why 50-year cycles? Turchin explained that a surge of violence begins in the same way as a forest fire, explosively. After a period of escalation followed by sustained violence, citizens began to yearn for the return of stability and to an end of fighting, he wrote in his paper. The prevailing social mood swings toward stifling the violence at all cost, and those who directly experience the civil violence maintain the peace for a human generation, 20 or 30 years, but the stability doesn't last. Eventually, the conflict-scarred generation dies off or retires, and a new cohort arises. People who did not experience the horrors of civil war are not immunized against it. If the long-term social forces that brought about the first outbreak of internal hostilities are still operating, then its society will slide into the second civil war, he wrote. As a result, periods of intense conflict tend to recur with a period of roughly 2 generations, 40 to 60 years. Now, I thought this was fantastic because I love the study of humans. And like I've talked about before, that was what I was going after in my career to start with, because human behavior is just something that intrigues me because it does repeat. It cycles, and people are too stupid to ever realize that if they would just study history a little bit, they would maybe quit repeating themselves.
Right.
But this was amazing. And then I noticed there was a follow-up article from 2020 where they talked to Peter Turchin. He's like, look, I'm not a psychic, I'm a mathematician. You know?
Right.
But he's like, this is just the data. And this is what it showed me. And yes, this is, unfortunately, he goes, part of me feels validated and excited that it, I was right. The other part of me is an American having to live through it.
Right.
So I'm horrified. But how crazy do you think that is?
It is crazy, and hopefully bringing it to the attention of people
will do absolutely nothing.
I know it won't. I mean, it's a pattern, but you would hope that people would understand that and try to break the cycle.
That's the whole reason the cycle happens, though. If you don't live through it, it's like our first experience with the paranormal. We talk about that all the time, right? There's no way we can never, no matter how wonderfully we say it, okay? No one can ever really appreciate it until it happens to them. Right. People that have had a paranormal experience, they'll listen and they'll be like, oh my God, yes. People that are into the paranormal, listen to it. People that are friends of ours, listen to it. People that don't know us, don't care about the paranormal, they cannot even fathom what happened. Right. And I think what happens is that same thing. Like he said, that generation right now, they will at all cost, and I think we might be seeing some at all cost, they'll give up whatever to regain the status quo, right, and to have the peace and all this. And then they'll grow old, and once again the people will come up and they'll make the same mistakes. And it's unfortunate, but at its very core, I think it's bloody interesting.
It is very interesting.
Something else that's interesting is The Mandalorian.
Oh, I love that show.
Well, it's the best show in the world.
It's so good.
There's never been a better show. Not only is The Mandalorian available on Disney Plus, the best Star Wars thing that has been around since the original trilogy, it is probably, in my opinion, better. It's just amazing. It's your space western, and listen, if you're going to watch it, you got to go watch the cartoon, The Clone Wars. You got to go watch Rebels, another cartoon, all available on Disney Plus. But man, Ahsoka, just endearing character. Bo-Katan, Boba Fett is back. Yes. And the cool thing is, I was all excited about it, so I started looking into it. They're making a total of 12 series on Disney Plus. So and they'll all be like Dave Filoni. There's a lot of good stuff. The guy who did the Clone Wars is doing these. I'm just telling I always like to let people know when there's something cool in case they're not watching it. But they're also making 2 new trilogy films at the same time, one of which starring Keanu Reeves is like a Sith King with his daughter Gal Gadot, who is going toward the light and causing all kinds of rifts and problems, which just sounds cool from the actors alone.
Right. Well, it sounds interesting because you don't usually get it that direction. You don't usually get the dark characters going towards the light. It's always the light characters and trying to stay away from the dark. And
J.J. Abrams is currently working on the 4-hour version of Rise of Skywalker that is correct. Even has a little Anakin in it, and they do it correctly, the way they wanted to have it out there. So it's going to be out in like 2 years. But man, I don't know. I'm excited for Star Wars fans. If you haven't seen Mandalorian, you need to go out of your way to go see it.
It's amazing.
You know, it's amazing. Watch both seasons. They're about to wrap up season 2 right now, so really good stuff. Something else that's really good is our anniversary.
Yes,
Our proper anniversary, and we'll be celebrating that this weekend at an undisclosed location.
Yes.
And the best part of that is we're hiding. We're going to be gone, and we're going to be hiding. I'm so excited.
I know.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
The trip itself is fun. We'll listen to a lot of weird books and probably get sidetracked with some paranormal adventures along the way.
Probably.
Paranormal speaking, Ariana and her birthday went well. It's a lot of fun there. I say paranormal because she's a weird chick. I love her to death. And Wavy's first birthday, hashtag Wavy girl. But she could care less. I mean, she's always happy.
Talk about a child that likes the Mandalorian.
Oh my God.
She loves Baby Yoda.
She loves Baby Yoda. She'll wear the ears for me. And she loves the shirt. She loves my shirt. She'll point at it, and Baby Yoda. Man, she'd chip off the old block. And she also loves pretty dresses.
Oh, she's so cute.
She'll like pull the dress and be like, look, you know, she can't say look, but she'll go, baby, you know. So it's pretty cool. Something else I wanted to mention. I'm going to have to jump back into Netflix.
Oh, what is it?
Well, Supernatural finally ended, and they've uploaded everything. So I didn't watch it week by week because I like just splurging. But we're gonna jump back in. Last 2 seasons, man. We got to watch both seasons. But that was one of our favorite shows, and it's bittersweet that it's done. And
it is.
But hopefully it ended well. So don't anybody ruin that for me.
Yeah, really. No spoilers, please.
Yeah, you know. I talk about music a lot. So I thought on every halftime, I'm going to start giving some musical selections.
Okay.
So, you know, suggestions.
Okay.
So John's music picks. I might even get like a musical intro for this from, you know, here on out. But I was thinking of, you know, like song picks I love and what I'm listening to right now, because I go back to my favorites and all this stuff. But listen, you got to listen to this cover. It's a Kiss cover by the Melvins. It's from the early 90s. It's called Going Blind. It's actually called Going Blind when Kiss does it. The Melvins have it listed as Going Blind, but you'll find it anyway. Melvins, Going Blind. Great band. Inspired Nirvana. Just amazing. One of those songs, when you play it, you get taken and transferred into another place and time. And you really, even though the words get kind of silly, don't worry about the words. It's the melodic nature of the music, and it's really cool. And another one of my all-time favorite bands, Duran Duran. And yeah, I'm a metalhead, I'm a pop head, I'm a freaking every head. So I love music. But Duran Duran this is a very specific song I want you to listen to. Off their first album, which has just been re-released on vinyl. It's a white vinyl, which is pretty cool. But just their self-titled Duran Duran. It's a white-looking album. It came out in 81 originally in London, but then was re-released here in 83. It was actually a second album you could buy in the States because Rio came out here first in 82. But still yet, it's their first album. On that album, if you've got, you know, Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, you can just look up the Duran Duran 1981 album, and there's a special edition that's got, you know, remixes and night versions and extra songs and demos. This is a demo, okay? The song Tel Aviv is an instrumental. They do an instrumental on almost every album. And I never really cared that much for the Tel Aviv instrumental, but there's a Tel Aviv version from Air Studio. It's what it's called, Tel Aviv Air Studio version. And it's a capital AIR. It might be AR Studio, I don't know, but it looks like Air Studio version. Tel Aviv, just like it sounds. It's the place. It's about the place. But go find that. And you talk about songs that'll transfer you to another place in time. It doesn't even sound like the band. In fact, there's a solo in it that Andy Taylor does. It's just amazing. Anytime you hear John Taylor's bass, if you just like bass guitar, listen to any song they have, and he's gonna have the best bass riffs there are. But that song, I can't stop listening to it. I've never been much on extra tracks. It's always been schmextra tracks to me because, you know, If they were good enough, they'd have been on the album. But this is not like that. I think it's just because the style's so different that they just didn't go with it. But good stuff. Something else I'm going to mention, little, John Hawkins, my good friend John Hawkins, that some of you guys like. He's a wrestler, and wrestling manager extraordinaire, a sexy mother bleep. But he is returning back to action for Kapow Wrestling, and it'll be December 19th in Sevierville, Tennessee. So if you get on the Book of Face, Instagram, Hot Damn, anywhere like that, even on the Paranormal Sideshow version, you'll probably see the ad. If you're anywhere in the area, I'd love to see you come out. I will obviously be there. Yes, I'm John Hawkins. You know that already. But Kapow Wrestling, we walked in and took the titles. First time in. So then I named the tag team. We didn't have a tag team name, so I'm like, let me think of something I haven't thought of before. So Straight Fire, because, I set my hand on fire and burn people. I might do that December 19th. Hint, hint. But STR 8, the number 8, Straight Fire. You like that? I like it. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do is throw some fire and I'm straight. So I thought maybe that was, that's a joke. But anyway, pretty cool. And speaking of wrestling, another little pop culture thing here.
Okay.
So me and the kids, we get together every Wednesday night. We watch AEW wrestling on TNT. Freaking love it. It's really a throwback. It reminds you of watching WCW in the 90s or whatever. It's a lot of fun. Really, really enjoy it. They had this big reveal. Lights went out last week, and of all people, Sting, the wrestler Sting, debuted, returned. Just amazing. Looked like it was 1996 doing the Crow gimmick. It was freaking fantastic, and just all kinds of stuff. You guys need to watch it. If you like wrestling at all, if you used to like wrestling, you quit watching, you need to turn that on. It's pretty cool. But it wouldn't be halftime if I didn't have a list.
That's right. And
I have a list.
Okay.
I'm not a lisp, but
no, you don't have a lisp.
But
I would probably know if you did.
You would. I'd let you know if you will. But anyway, my list this week kicks ass. It is America's most mysterious places.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating.
You like that?
I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my list, but I have to tell you something first.
Okay.
So I was watching YouTube videos, which I tend to do sometimes. And when I watch YouTube videos, I'll do that for, hours.
Right.
And I like going into different places. And my as we've said before, we needed to show you what's on John's recommended. Like once a week, we should make a 5-minute video and just be like, here's John's recommended. And I mean, really, you want to talk about watch list. It is every conspiratorial thing that YouTube doesn't even know is still on there.
I know.
So, but sometimes I watch crazy stuff too. And I was watching the most violent chimpanzees, as far as tribes go.
What made you even think to look that up?
Because Joe Rogan has me scared shitless about freaking chimps taking over the world.
Right, right.
Every now and then, Joe Rogan, if you're an avid watcher or listener or whatever, which is hard to do now that he's on Spotify. It was all well and good when they were talking about the Spotify agreement and that he was going to Spotify and all this stuff, but now you exclusively have to watch him on Spotify. And that sucks because I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to figure out a way to watch Spotify just for one person. I refuse. And even though, hey, Spotify, we appreciate being on the on the platform. As you may be listening to us on Spotify, but I wouldn't expect you just to go there to listen to us.
Right. We're not Spotify users.
Right.
We use Apple Music, so
yeah. We're not opposed to it. It just
right.
so happens that it's easier for us to do that. Anyway, let's just go back to the Joe Rogan thing. So Joe Rogan sometimes may be talking about, I don't know, World War II. And he'll have somebody on there be like, yeah, that was really bad. And that was terrible. And chimpanzees. Have you seen these chimpanzees? I mean, they walk around upright. Have you seen those chimpanzees? And they're all buff. They're walking around. They're like, I'm
He has a thing for that, doesn't he?
going to eat your face. And, we're like one step off, right? We're a cup of coffee and a cigarette away from being chimps ourselves. And he really says that a lot because I think he is more chimp than us. Because if you look at him, like you look at Rogan, and God love you, Rogan, if you hear this because somebody's like, hi, you have to hear this dude talking crap on you, that's all cool. Because listen, man, you're a black belt and you're all this stuff, but you know what you're not? 6'3". So I'm here, bro. But love you, mean it. Anyway, he's got like these hairy hands, and like the girls pointed it out on UFC. So if you wanna come at me, bro, come at my girls, because they're the one.
Are you really?
They're the ones.
You're inciting Joe Rogan and then telling him to come get your women.
It's a female violence. Yes, I'm really going.
It's not our fault. We tend to pick things out. It's just a quirk.
It's a girl thing when girls are watching things that girls aren't supposed to watch.
It's not even that. I had to stop watching a news broadcast one day because the lady talked out of the side of her mouth. It was super annoying. Anyway,
the so we were watching UFC, and Stacy goes, it looks like somebody's put a fake gorilla paw at the bottom of the screen. And I looked down, I'm like, oh God. And then I was like, Jesus, God, is that him? Is that Joe Rogan? And then Raja gets in on it, and
she's like, yeah, didn't you notice when he was holding the microphone?
And he's got these furry hands. And I think that one of the last times we saw him on there, Stacy is like, he shaved his hands.
Yeah, it wasn't like that.
And it was weird.
Somebody must have clued him in.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be weird if he actually like does shave his hands? And he's always hoped nobody would ever notice.
And we've just said it.
Yeah. Like the first thing to ever go viral.
Look, I love Joe Rogan. I have nothing against his hairy hands. I just thought it was weird.
You're a wimp. You're a wimp. You need to fight Joe Rogan. Anyway, you guys are the same height. How tall are you? 5'4"?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Did I throw that kind of shade?
You did.
I can't do that to vertically challenge men. That's terrible. You know that's why their muscles pop so big, don't you? Because there's shorter muscles. It's science.
Oh, I see.
Guys with longer arms have a harder time getting their bicep peaks.
Right.
Seriously. It sucked.
I've heard that.
When I lived in the gym, and I did at one time live in the gym, and every day I worked out more than you're supposed to because I do everything to the extreme, and I can't do anything like halfway or on a regimen or anything like that.
Right.
If I get into something, it's
all or nothing.
It is totally all or nothing. And the best analogy, and we've told the people, long-time listeners know this, but if you're a first-time listener or recent listener, you've not heard this analogy that Stacy made. Probably one of the greatest ones. One of the ones that I have to just say, that's fair. You can't argue with it. You can't fight about it. You can't say anything except that's fair. Stacy said one time, she goes, I'm going to explain you. And she goes, because what I just seen happen is you in a nutshell. It's something you did, and it's in a nutshell. And she was basically trying to let me know that in metaphor world, because I talk in metaphors all the time.
He understands in metaphors.
And so she explained to me in metaphor. Stacy had said that she was a little warm. So I turned it to completely cold.
And this is when we were dating. When we first started dating, and you're still trying to impress each other and all that. Yeah, we got in the car and I was like, it's a little warm in the car. So he turned the air on full blast. And so after a few minutes, I was like, it's really cold in here. So he turned the heat on full blast. And there was no warm. It was either hot or it was cold.
I think that was the universe's way of warning you.
Probably, but I was just too awestruck with you to worry about.
Well, you could have still
the fact that you couldn't find the warm on the heat.
You could have still jumped out and rolled at that point in our relationship.
I think so, yeah.
And I would have been too weirded out to really come back and check. Now I'm going to like call an ambulance and stuff. There's enough history where they know I didn't push you out of the car.
You're not going to stop, but you're going to call an ambulance. Like, my wife jumped out about a mile ago. I don't know. Mile marker 4. I'm not sure.
Back then, though, when we were dating, I wouldn't have wanted to know why you did that. And just been like, well, that sucks. I don't know what I said. I'd have thought about it for a few minutes and, worried. But, anyway, so that is me in a nutshell. And the Joe Rogan, back to the Joe Rogan. Oh my God. Jesus Lord. He really will be talking about, Francis Scott Key, and then all of a sudden go to chimpanzees and he gets like really aroused and excited when he's talking about it.
Do they freak him out? I can't remember. Is it because they freak him out?
Yeah, dude.
Seriously, freak him out. That's what I vaguely remember.
Yeah,
yes.
Dude. Big eyes, and like when you're excited and you're talking about something and you're like trying
and like if they're doing things human like with their hands and stuff like that, that really, really freaks him out. Yeah.
And like their hunting techniques and stuff. And like when he hears about him making spears, that was too much.
Right.
Oh my God.
Makes me want to like find every story like that and just like send it to you.
Do a montage. Yeah. The Joe Rogan scared of monkey montage. And it's not really just monkeys, because as this special I watched, oh my God, like I might have to share this just because of how horrific it is.
Right.
These people are like, they followed these chimps for like 30 years. And they gave up their entire lives, because they did, to follow these chimps. And they had made a couple of friends, right? So they made one, and I don't remember his name, Bobo. Let's just say Bobo was one of the chimps. And after they had followed them around for a while,
right? And
he was the first one to kind of stop, and he looked at him, and he gave him this like look, like, it's okay, like, hey, you're good with me, you're good people. And they knew enough of chimpanzee mannerisms, right, to know that this was like, it's cool, guys, you can be with us. And so they stayed around him quite a bit, and so really he got a lot of his life memorialized. Really, I mean, they filmed him and what he did and stuff, and he was like really the coolest chimp of all. But his best friend, like when they would all go hang out and stuff, he would always go with his best friend. They were inseparable. And one day they were in the woods, or in the jungle, and they heard these horrific screams happening. Right. And they were really excited because they knew something was going on. I guess they do a whole lot of just, well, I mean, some of the things they had witnessed, like one of the first things they had witnessed, because the prevailing thought or wisdom on these particular chimpanzees had been that they would forage for the most part for their food unless they were super hungry, and then they would maybe kill a monkey, and eat a monkey or whatever. Right. But that's not the case. It's actually kind of the other way around. They go for killing the freaking monkey first.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like they to me, it's very cannibalistic because, how close are they to the monkey? You know what I mean? Like if we're close to the chimp, like I don't see me going to eat fried chimp anytime soon.
Right. I understand.
Because it would be too much like cannibalism to me. So you can only imagine, man, they don't care, dude. They show this happening on here. Like I was hoping they were going to talk about it and then be like, yeah, that's horrific when we have to see that stuff. But moving on, here's the kind of flowers they like, right? But no, it went from that to this stupid monkey, man. It was like, I mean, it was a type of monkey, but it was obviously a dumber monkey.
Clearly.
It was like black, had a white face. It looks it's like one of the ones you'd look at in a zoo and be like, oh, look how cute, The chimps don't think that way. Right. So they have the one that scares the crap out of the monkey by jumping on this side of the limb. And the monkey's like, kind of like going backwards a little bit.
Well, yeah.
The other one is behind it, waiting for it to jump so it can pounce. Wow. And that's
some pretty sophisticated hunting techniques.
They get it. They pretty much break its neck instantly. They throw they throw it to the ground.
So it'll okay.
As they jump on top of it. And then they just easily rip its arm off, rip its leg off, and they like pass it out to their buddies. Like, hey, here's a leg for you, here's an arm for you, here's an arm for you. and then they just devour it. It is one of the most horrifying things. Like, I was so Joe Rogan at the time,
Right.
that I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of get that. And if you're seeing 6 foot tall ones that walk around upright, then that makes, because
Because they could do that to us.
I mean, they've got unbelievable strength.
They do.
I mean, unbelievable strength. But they were showing this story, and I got into this monkey. Well, that screaming they heard that one day, that was his best friend. I don't know what he had done, but all the other chimps were beating the crap out of him, and they showed it.
Oh my God.
And I mean, you know how they
yeah.
Your favorite kind of punching, the
Hammer fists.
Yeah, they were hammer fisting the crap out of him. And so they were like, the guys all started crying, talking about it. They were like, if any other animal would be dead. But it wasn't dead yet. It was like up in a tree, and it was like, you could see it was like, oh, couldn't really figure out what had happened or whatever.
Good Lord.
Well, it died shortly thereafter, and their friend Bobo, he would go to like the commune area or whatever, and he would like look around. It was like he went nuts. He would go there and he would look around, and like he was looking for that guy, and he wasn't there, and then he would just go off by himself somewhere.
Wow.
And he did that like every day, but he was totally, you could see it, he was totally like in denial. And which is weird for the chimpanzees. And they like expanded their tribe. It was showing the regions as they were watching them that they took over because they were so violent. And the other chimpanzee groups were not like that.
Right.
It was just these guys were super violent. And they kept expanding their territory because they would go kill a few of them, and the rest were like, okay, yeah, we're in your group, And so they have this humongous group that is their group, and they were showing the one guy that was like their buddy or whatever, and these orphan chimps like started hanging out with him, like and he was really sweet to him, and so he like basically he adopted. He was like the nice one,
Right.
He
And the other group was like
yeah.
Rome or something. It was weird.
It was really weird. Yeah,
It was weird.
It was really weird. So that's what I got caught up in, and
I see.
And the whole time I was thinking, wow, I shouldn't have joked about Joe Rogan. I really see the fear.
Yeah, it is scary.
So I'm not going to contribute any money to Save the Chimpanzees. Like I was really moved by that.
Right.
And I'd read about all this stuff. Like I'm still into mountain gorillas, even though they're stronger. I still think we should save the monkey population, the primate population, I should say, but because it has been ravaged by poachers and horrible people for many years. And it is still something with me, but I'd like to exclude chimpanzees from that list, please.
Well, you have to be careful because, we have those stories in all those countries where they do have laws against killing certain kinds of monkeys, and now the monkeys are just taking over. Remember we had the story about the monkeys throwing the bricks on the guy and hurting
that's
him,
like the macaques, though.
stealing the groceries.
Those are those annoying temple monkeys.
Well, there's a couple of different breeds that are that size, yes.
Yeah, those are the ones okay, so we need to keep the chimps. So what I need to do is, since people can't do anything about those monkeys,
you just recruit other monkeys.
I'll just take those chimps.
There you go. Look at the buffet.
Yeah, those particular chimps. Trust me, you give that like 3 hours,
right?
You're gonna have a bunch of fat chimps and a lot less monkeys. Because my God, it's pretty crazy. So the list, guys, if you didn't get enough just then. So this list is pretty cool. It's an MSN article, which very cool. An MSN article does not normally go hand to hand, but it's from a Ella Buchan. It's called "Are These America's Most Mysterious Places?" ?
Oh,
and
guess we're gonna find out.
It doesn't actually have question mark written out, but
right.
I had to agree with some of them. I thought it was pretty cool. But we have the RMS Queen Mary, of course, and the ocean liner currently enjoying semi-retirement as a floating hotel and restaurant in Long Beach. Has a lot of history. She started with a glamorous life selling Hollywood stars, including Elizabeth Taylor, across the Atlantic Ocean before having a grittier role as a Second World War troop ship, the Grey Ghost. To some, that's more than just a name, claiming to be the world's most haunted ship. It said her decks and corridors are roamed by the spirits of those who have died aboard, including a crew member murdered in stateroom B340. I don't want to like poo-poo on anybody's parade or anything, but the only thing I can ever think of with the Queen Mary, I have no desire to ever go there. And, you know, again, not throwing shade to anybody who's actually caught evidence there, but I'll never forget one of my favorite episodes of TAP's Ghost Hunters is like, I don't know, man. It's probably back in 2004 to 2006 area.
I think I know the one you're talking about, yeah.
And they catch them tampering with evidence.
Like faking something?
Yeah. Several things. If I don't...
I feel like there was like a bed sheet involved.
And the noise and the they knew what it was and all this stuff. And they were straight up tampering with evidence. And Jason called them out and gave all kinds of credibility to them, you know. And I don't know.
Which is kind of a shame because I think that boat really is haunted. And it's a shame that they felt like they had to.
Everything's haunted.
They had to fake that for television.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, to me, everything's haunted.
Right.
And,
right.
You know, if you look hard enough or whatever. But as far as that, it just kills the credibility. How do you ever have really good evidence? And
true.
You know what I'm saying? It's just in this field.
Right.
When you have something like that and you purposely do that, it's really hard to ever take anything anybody has from there.
It's true.
And be like, oh, that's concrete.
Right. You can't really trust it.
It's just hard. But anyway, that's a golden gem. Let me tell you, if you guys have not ever done this, go and try to find the DVD seasons of the first few seasons of Ghost Hunters. They had the extras on there, the deleted scenes and stuff, and it really tells you more about the team, and it was awesome. You know, bickering and this and that. I love the human element from the first few seasons. Season 1 especially will always be my favorite Ghost Hunter season. Right. It's just so different. Like, it's got the real life team stuff, like where this guy's a jackass and this girl's this and this. Right. You know, if you had the real team.
And they still really had other jobs.
Yeah. You know, that's what America needs is the real team out there where, you know, somebody works at a grocery store, you know, you've got the slut on the team that's just on the team to have sex. And you've got the
girl that brings a different boyfriend every time.
Yeah. You've got the girl that thinks she's a witch that's totally not a witch. You've got, you know, the person that just bought their first psychic communication book that is filling the walls and stuff, and it's just you know, you got the one tech guy that's, you know, big Star Wars fan or something. But it's just funny. The real teams, as I've been member of many teams, hence why I don't have a team now. But anyway, it's still a lot of fun. But there for a while, it was like a meat market. When it hit its peak, like all these, oh my God, all these like, midlife crises. It was crazy. So anyway, Lorry Mansion, your favorite place, Louisiana. New Orleans oozes spookiness and spirituality from every cobblestone corner and cemetery. Though this lavish Creole mansion in the heart of the city's French Quarter, that's why you like it, has more mystery than most. It was owned by socialite Madame Marie Delphine LaLaurie. Infamous and hedonistic parties, it might be the reason you like it, and following a kitchen fire in 1834, murder, local police responding to the blaze discovered the bodies of mutilated slaves in the attic. LaLaurie fled to France, but according to some, the victims remain, heard screaming in the night. Horrible.
It is horrible, and I don't like it because I find it fascinating because the story, the way you read it in some places, is that yes, there was a kitchen fire, but I believe the legend is that she chained a slave to the stove and she was having this lavish party, and the fire was deliberately started by this slave chained to the stove because I guess they were so unhappy. Or, I mean, that's just the story. That doesn't mean that that's true, but I've always found the whole story just really bizarre and macabre and just interesting.
Right. No, I totally understand. I'm married to you. Eternal Flame Falls in New York.
Ooh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, because I've totally set us up to go there.
Yes.
We just didn't make it that far. It's not the biggest or most spectacular waterfall by any means, but Eternal Flame Falls is certainly one of the most mysterious cascades around. The staggered waterfall in Chestnut Ridge Park tumbles over a small grotto where an eternal flame flickers. It's believed the flame is kept alight by natural methane gas seeping through cracks into ancient rocks, though there are still unanswered questions about its true source and what keeps it burning. It does occasionally go out, but is usually reignited by visitors. Well, I wouldn't be that person. It's like, well, it went out, you know.
Hey, let's go hold a flame over this big natural gas opening in the ground.
Right?
That would go so wrong for us.
You know, it's very crazy, but one of my favorite things, and one of the biggest mysteries that you don't hear about with ancient pyramids and stuff,
right,
is the eternal flames. I don't know if you've ever heard of them either, but it's something that really gets covered up. It's in a lot of text. So if you're reading hieroglyphic, I know you're not planning on doing that today or anything. No. But there is some text about it as well, about people that were coming. Like there's some Greek text when they were first going into the pyramid tombs and whatnot when they got there, about these flames that were burning in these, you know, obviously hundreds and thousands, whatever, year old tombs. And there's a lot of conjecture on how
those are staying lit.
Well, how it stayed lit.
Right.
And the thing is, it's some of the pieces that go missing. Like, you know, they would find these and then they're mysteriously missing from like the museum records and stuff.
Right.
Like, you know, we did have that eternal flame vessel thing, but we lost it.
That's probably how the curses start.
Yeah.
You mess with the eternal flame.
It's really neat. You should really look into it. It's not just one or two. I mean, there was many that had that eternal flame deal, and like, how did they have that technology? You know,
no idea.
What caused that? It'd be really cool to know. And mysteriously enough, usually when they took it out of the pyramid area, it would go out.
That's so strange.
Yeah. So, Marfa, Texas, and I'm not trying to say Martha. It's Marfa. Marfa.
I wasn't going to say anything.
People have been perplexed by Marfa lights for nearly 140 years, though no one can explain why they are there or even if they exist at all. I did say tall right there. They appear as bright and sometimes colorful orbs that throb, or some have claimed, I don't like that word throb.
I feel like it probably should have been used in this context.
I mean, throb is just
pulse. Don't lights pulse?
Yeah, I guess pulse is okay. It's better than throb.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's do that again. They appear as bright and sometimes colorful orbs that pulse. Or some have claimed move across the sky on clear nights. They're so integral to the identity of this hip Texan town that they're usually celebrated as the annual Marfa Lights Festival. Man, you hippies. Theories on what they are include the ghost of Spanish conquistadors, what's not that, UFOs, probably, and reflections of car headlights. Oh, hello, Steve.
Do people have multicolored headlights in Texas?
That just come out for the Lights Festival every
right,
year,
and pulse.
They're creating it themselves. It's like, oh, it's a Lights Festival. Let's all drive there. Look at all the lights. What the hell?
Where did all these come from? Oh my God.
The more people that show up, the more lights come over that hill. It's like they're all
It's a miracle.
It's like, I think we found our methane leak, sir. Jesus. Cathedral Rock, Arizona.
It's mysterious. Hello, it's on the list. Okay.
The red rocks of Sedona are certainly hauntingly lovely, but could something truly spooky be happening? The entire area is considered to be a vortex, or an area of concentrated, crackling energy said to have healing powers. The area around the sandstone butte of Cathedral Rock is known as electromagnetic site, where multiple energies swirl and flow, inspiring meditation and spiritual well-being. Regardless of the metaphysical, this place is otherworldly beauty. Now, let me tell you, if it has that much EM going around, there is going to be a whole lot of woo happening.
That's right.
You're going to be seeing things.
That's cool. I want to go there.
Yeah, it is cool. It'd be really easy for a spirit to just show up, too.
Right.
Wow. Bodie, California. Bodie is a ghost town. Sounds like a song. That's what I see. Bodie is a ghost town, not just in the sense of former gold mining town. Now State Park was abandoned in the early 20s. Sorry.
I mean, it was kind of catchy.
It's really a ghost town, or so many believe. Or so many believe. Not so many. How many is so many?
I don't know. More than 15, maybe?
That would be so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or so many believe. Stories abound that spirits roam the scattered remnants of deserted buildings, including a general store. That's a store that sells goods, not a general store.
Right.
Or a store that sells generals. Still stocked with goods, and haunt the Masonic Cemetery. It's probably the Masons haunting the Masonic Cemetery. There are also tales that anyone who removes a rock or shard of metal from the town will be cursed. And it feels pretty plausible in this eerie location high in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
The old curse it if you take it ploy.
Yes. The old, I have to explain this to Stacy every damn time we're at someplace. We should really take a rock from here. Why don't we get some dirt from the mound? Because I want a giant ghost. I'm sorry, it was just a foot up here at the end of our bed. It was 6 feet tall foot. Red Onion Saloon, Alaska. Oh man, I know this one in and out. This is one of my places that I've wanted.
Is it?
Yeah, Skagway's Red Onion Saloon is now a bar and restaurant, though a brothel museum and some spooky goings on.
I want to know what you put in a brothel museum. I mean, what kind of exhibits do they have?
Offer clues to its shady past. The inn opened at the end of the 19th century as a brothel for gold miners. And today, the ghost of former brothel madam Lydia is said to hang around the halls, the scent of her perfume wafting in the air. Jesus. Wafting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to own a brothel, or if you're going to work at a brothel for gold miners is probably the way to go. I mean, I'd say the tips are probably pretty good.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of Lydia from Skyrim. Find her.
She's not too bright.
You can find Lydia at the Red Onion. Crescent Hotel, Arkansas.
Oh, yes.
The tips are pretty good. The rest of it sucks. Looming atop a ridge in the Ozark Mountains, this Eureka Spring landmark has been billed as America's most haunted hotel. Damn it, who decides that?
I don't know.
It has certainly seen a lot of happening since its construction in 1886. Originally opening as a luxury resort, it later became a conservatory for young women, a college, and in 1937, a hospital whose owner, Norman Baker, claimed he could cure cancer. Except he wasn't really a doctor.
I mean, they got a pretty good claim on Most Haunted, I think.
Yeah. Baker was run out of town, and his ghost is said to haunt the hotel along with a bearded man. I'm glad they made that specific. In Victorian dress. And a 5-year-old.
Why is that bearded man wearing a Victorian dress?
And a 5-year-old girl. So you love.
And why is he wearing a 5-year-old girl? That's horrific.
You love that place.
Yes, I do. I actually like the story behind that place. It's very interesting. Somewhere I'd like to go.
Yeah, go ahead and say it. It's very macabre.
It is. I'm sorry that I find those places so interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to make a pattern here.
I see.
Maybe.
Look, if we want to make patterns, let's just go through the history on your YouTube channel.
Maybe Auschwitz is on here. You're like, I've always wanted to do that place and the 9/11 museum.
No. That's a little bit too out there.
Only because people know. Racetrack Playa, California. Well, wow. Racetrack Playa.
Is that really how it's spelled? Wow. Okay.
Racetrack Playa, California. I just had to say it again. Some spooky places can be explained by science. I disagree. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't make them any less fascinating. Take Racetrack Playa. It might be Playa. Let's say Playa.
No, I think I'm enjoying it the way you're doing it.
Racetrack Playa. A dry lake bed. It's, no Never mind. In California's Death Valley, where rocks magically glide across the cracked surface.
Oh, yeah.
For years, people puzzled over the rocks, and how they seemingly come to life, with theories ranging from an undiscovered magnetic force to a higher power that likes to move rocks around.
Right.
Then in 2013, scientists discovered something a little less romantic. The boulders are moved by wind when the ground's icy. Mm-hmm. And it's eerie nonetheless, it says.
Right. I remember us doing the story about when they said they claimed they figured that out. And I'm not sure that I buy it. I mean, that might be how they move. Maybe. I'm sure that's the scientific reasoning, but I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I think, I don't know.
I don't know. When I pass, if I have the ability to move things, I'm totally going somewhere and moving rocks like an inch a year. Yeah. Until somebody notices.
Moving them an inch a year. I'm going to do something very, boring as well.
Because that's what I do with my higher power abilities.
I'm going to concentrate really hard to try to smell like my perfume. Yeah. Poinsett Bridge, South Carolina. This is another place that's on our list.
It is.
It's been on our list for a long time now, and maybe we'll take care of this one soon.
Okay.
Mystery surrounds the construction of South Carolina's oldest bridge. The Gothic structure in Greenville was built in 1820 and named after a prominent local resident, Mr. Bridge. No. Joe Poinsett.
It's like every bridge is named after him. It's amazing.
Historians believed it was designed by Robert Mills. Oddly enough, he's had quite a few names placed after him, too. The architect behind the Washington Monument. Even more intriguing are the tales of ghosts hanging around the stone arch, ranging from a man who died in a car accident in the 1950s to a construction worker entombed inside.
Wow.
Every now and then, when the time is right, you can hear, "Hey, Hermie. I'm still in here. Just move a rock, buddy." Roswell, New Mexico. Not going to read this.
Okay.
Eastern State.
No idea why it's mysterious. We're just going to go right past it.
Eastern State Penitentiary, obviously. If you don't know why that's mysterious, you're listening to the wrong show.
Right.
Lincoln Park Zoo in Illinois.
Oh,
there we go.
I've heard of this place.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. You have. Cuddly animals, fearsome beasts, and malignant spirits. Ghosts aren't the first things you'd associate with the zoo, but this popular Chicago attraction has been designated one of the most haunted sites in the city. Boy, that's saying something. The central core of the Lincoln Park Zoo was a cemetery in the mid-19th century, with around 35,000 bodies buried there. When it was moved, not all the bodies went with it, poltergeist. Unsurprisingly, reports of paranormal activity are rife.
Rife.
That's
a lot.
It is. It's like Scooby saying life. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida.
Oh, yes, of course.
And this place, I'm not going to give you anything except I'll go back to Ghost Hunters and the Shadows looking over the side. So there you go.
Yes.
Go look that up if you haven't seen that. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, West Virginia. I will give this scariest place in the world. And again, we know why, all that good stuff. It's definitely up there. Another one of Stacy's favorites, the Winchester Mystery House. Not as much of a favorite as it once was, I think. I think that one, once it got explored a few times, I don't know if you're as into it as you once were.
No, I mean, it's not. It's an interesting story, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd like to, be able to wander around in there on my own fruition,
Oh, yeah.
Just have a whole, hours, clearly, like someone get lost and just sort of wander around.
Place we talked about recently on the show, Pines Barrens, New Jersey. And just a lot of stuff happened there, including the Jersey Devil. So the place still to this day is just a very, very eerie, strange part.
Now, see, to me, that's mysterious.
Yeah.
Some of these places are just haunted. And yes, that's mysterious, but I would not label that under mysterious. I would separate haunted and mysterious. This is mysterious because you don't really know what's happening.
I agree. There's a big difference in paranormal and supernatural.
Exactly.
As we found out. So there's an inside Easter egg for like two people that could be listening to this. Hotel Monte Vista, Arizona. It seems the guests at this Flagstaff hotel have a tendency to overstay their welcome. Sometimes, in fact, they don't check out at all.
It's Hotel California?
Yeah. preferring to stick around and make life interesting for anyone else brave enough to stay overnight. Those haunting the suites and corridors include a woman who sits in a rocking chair by the window of room 305, 2 murdered women of the night, and a meat man.
Is he with the 2
Yeah.
murdered women of the night? I don't know.
Have you seen the meat man?
He doesn't sound particularly scary, does he?
The meat man? Yeah, the meat man. The one on Jerry Lane. The meat man's a long-term guest, infamous for his stomach-churning habit of hanging meat from the chandelier.
Ew.
Yeah. Not quite as sexy now, is he?
Well, he wasn't before, but he just didn't seem scary. But that just sounds more gross now.
Yeah. Shanghai Tunnels, Oregon. It's now better known for craft beer and hipsters, which is scarier to me. But Portland was once a hotbed of illicit activity, much of it centered around the port area, where a grim practice called Shanghai was rife. Again, rife.
Rife.
That's a drinking game. In the early 19th century.
I wonder how many times something has to happen before it's considered rife.
Rife? Men were lured from local saloons and dropped into these tunnels via trapdoors. I just see like like Bugs Bunny and drag. It's like how to get them over there. Well, a fancy drum and a cross-dressing bunny. Anyway, they were there held captive, drugged, and dragged to the waterfront to be sold to ships as slaves. Unsurprisingly, the tunnels are now said to be haunted by these men, many of whom died in the underground passages. A lot of them died when they fell. They'd break their leg really bad.
It doesn't sound like a very good business plan, does it?
No, not at all.
We want to sell these guys to work for people on ships. Let's drop them through a hole about 10 feet. That sounds like a good idea.
Myrtle's Plantation, again, show,
Right. No explanation needed.
Yeah, New Amsterdam Theater, New York. A suitably glamorous ghost haunts the opulent Art Nouveau interior of this Broadway theater.
Wow.
This was the home of legendary Ziegfeld Follies, famously lavish and elaborate stage shows. And it's one of the members that has refused to leave. Olive Thomas was named the most beautiful girl in New York City. With a name like Olive, how could she not be, right?
Right.
At the age of 16, oh God, but had a tragically short life, dying in 1920 at the age of 25 after accidentally swallowing mercury pills.
Oh my God. Who would put mercury in a pill? What is that for?
And she's now said to float across the stage, blowing kisses to the audience.
Oh my. If I could go back in time, I would want to go back and see like a lavish stage show like that. That'd be pretty cool.
I want to go back and see mercury pills.
What do you do? I'm gonna have to look that up. What? I guess they just didn't understand how dangerous that was, I suppose.
I don't know. Colonial Park Cemetery, Georgia, is often described as one of the most haunted places in Savannah, with paranormal experts reporting terrifyingly high levels of activity. The city's oldest burial ground opened in 1750 and a regular stop on ghost tours. It's believed that more than 10,000 people are buried there, though there are fewer than 1,000 grave markers on the site.
Wow.
Visitors report seeing shadowy figures, including that of a 7-foot-tall woman hanging from a tree.
This must be a tall tree.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously long.
She's stretched over time.
It's been hanging too long. Oh, goodness. Wow.
Seguin Island Light Station, Maine.
Oh, yes.
Maine's first offshore station and second oldest lighthouse, built in 1796, has a suitably storied past. Mm-hmm. It's rife, Seguin Island Light Station, named for the island it occupies. Well, that's a good thing. They didn't name it for the one beside it.
Right, that'd be very confusing.
close to the mouth of the Kennebec River, which we lived on, is said to be haunted by the ghost of several people who lived in the isolated location. One story is that a lighthouse keeper from the mid-1800s killed his wife and then himself after being driven mad by her piano playing.
I love that story.
It's
so funny.
People still report hearing ghostly piano music on the island. It's funny because if they're both dead, and she's still like, ding, 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 ding.
Well,
ding.
it's just one of those things. All I can picture is, the husband was being so grand. He's like, I'm going to have, she has this piano and we just got married and she's going to come. And then she brings like one piece of music, Like she didn't even think that maybe she might want to play something different. So
Right.
all she played, like no improvisation, nothing. She just played that one piece of music constantly.
And it was chopsticks.
And it drove him crazy.
It's-
It's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
maybe she's waiting for him to join in.
Maybe.
Dun, 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 dun.
You know, he's still hearing it.
Oh, yeah.
You know he's still hearing
That's
it.
what I said a second ago.
She's just like, that's his own personal hell right there.
The last
Just
two places were the Stanley Hotel and Area 51, neither of which
Wow.
I need to go over because
Of course not.
they are, once again, well, mysterious for Area 51, I guess. Haunted.
More haunted for Stanley.
Stanley, yeah.
I agree.
So-
But it's still a really interesting list.
Thank you. I look for good, interesting list if I don't make them myself. If I make them myself, they're much more interesting. So, you know, that one was a little bit too rife for me. And what was the word that I had to take out? Ribbed. What was it?
Throb.
Oh, yeah, throb. Ribbed. Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on for her pleasure. Here's Stacy with the rest of the news, thank God. All right, well, I think it's about time for my lovely assistant. Some call her my wife. Other people call her mama. Well, I call her mama too. It's a whole nother story. But hey, it's okay because we're on the backside of this thing now. Things can get naughty now, right?
I think so, yes.
Oh, God. I didn't expect you to play along. Thanks for joining us this week, folks.
No, wait. We have more stories. Let's at least get through the stories first.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You really sure?
I'm really sure. There's plenty of time for that later.
All right. So here we go, and that was for you, Cody. That was just for you, Cody. I love you. All right.
So let's get to the rest of these stories. First, we're going to hit a few updates. And the first one is about a story we talked about on the last show where we had the mysterious object flying at Earth and NASA wasn't entirely sure what it was. And so they did identify it as it flew past. And it turns out that the object that was officially named 2020 SO was indeed what they thought it was. It was a piece of a Centaur rocket from the Surveyor 2, which was an unmanned and failed moon mission landing from 1966. And
At least
so
it wasn't a
just
centaur.
that would be
like an
a lot
actual centaur.
stranger, yeah. So the size estimates put it approximately 32 feet long and 10 feet in diameter.
Good size centaur.
And they thought, I've seen bigger. Yeah. They thought that's what it was going to be. When they first found it, they thought it was an asteroid, but then when they realized it wasn't an asteroid, they thought it was probably going to be that space junk, and it was confirmed that that's what it was. So thankfully, it wasn't anything dangerous that was going to hit us.
So I want to go back to all the way back to the first story.
Okay.
The lead story today. So a little bit behind the curtain here. So we couldn't finish that night. And when I did that story, it was before it broke as the biggest story everybody's done. So there you go. It was before, but we had to split the show up. And that happens sometimes, folks. When we want to bring you these beautiful weekly podcasts like this, sometimes it just happens. But hey, nobody's half as entertaining or a quarter good looking. So, you got to put up with what you got to put up with, I guess.
I guess so.
All right, let's go.
All right. So the next update, and this is a story that we did a long time ago, and this is the one about a long time ago, way back. This is about the government employees in Cuba that were struck with the mysterious illness, and they thought, everybody's saying, oh, it was an attack, it was microwave attacks.
It happened to them in Kwang Wong Tong too.
It happened in several places. It was like in Havana in 2016, and then in China and some other countries, maybe Russia, I don't remember exactly, but it was all, at first it was just like U.S. government employees, and then some other countries like Canada. Everybody was pulling their diplomats and their employees from other countries because they couldn't explain it, and the illnesses were bad, and they had all these weird symptoms, and some people even had to retire. So they got this government commission together of 19 experts in like medicine and other fields.
19 experts and one Smithers.
Yeah, that's right. You have to have the Smithers. Somebody's got to get the coffee. And they put together a report and released it recently, and they claim that the most definitive explanation...
19 experts on what?
It just says in medicine and other fields.
Okay. Do you go to school for other fields?
I think so, yeah.
Do you get on campus and they're like, hey, you see over there?
That's other fields.
That's where you belong, buddy. Smithers is over there waiting. He's got
coffee.
They cited, quote, direct.
How do you know what exact experts to send?
I don't know. Maybe experts in like radio frequency energy.
Can you imagine that one? Hello. Oh yes, is this Dr. Johnson? Long W. Johnson. Well, yes, it is. How can I help you? You're expert in anthropology. Anthropology, yeah, okay. But you're an expert, right? That is correct, sir. I am an expert. Well, we're looking for experts. Who are we? I am the United States government, dog it. And we're looking for experts, see? Because we're going to put you over in this here embassy and... An embassy? Embassy, see? And we got to find experts to see what's going on. We're not exactly sure what it is, son. That's why we're looking for red-blooded patriots. I'm from Bulgaria, sir. We're looking for red-blooded Bulgarian sirs to come over and look and check and see what's going on and see their minds melting out their ears. And it's quite a damn mess, to be honest with you. But, I mean, it's just diplomats. It's kind of like a shitty position we give our cousins or second cousins and, just to fill something up or somebody we sleep with, we give it to their brother or something like that. It's diplomats. We don't care about diplomats. I mean, you don't go to school to be a diplomat. I mean, it's something you're honored with. So, but we gotta keep the damn brains in their head, boy. You understand what I mean? Oh, I think I do, but I'm an anthropologist. But you're an expert. I just want to know.
I understand. And they don't give the breakdown. They just say 19 experts in medicine and other fields. So there could have been 2 doctors and like 6, welders or something. I don't know.
Veterinarian,
anything.
Lego expert.
It just says experts.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Proceed, sir.
Okay. So they cited as the most plausible mechanism to explain the illness was directed pulsed radio frequency energy, such as some sort of microwave weapon. Yes, which is what everybody's been saying all along, but you didn't have the experts to come in and say that. So even CIA officers that visited overseas stations also experienced the symptoms.
Did they?
They did. And
did you? Just now?
I think so. They got me. And the way they wrote the report is in this article, it says that they use some careful scientific language,
jargon,
to say things about the illnesses coming from a, quote, directed weapon. And
I have to tell you about a directed weapon.
And
I used muscle cream on my inner thighs earlier. And so I don't have my suit on right now.
Right.
And what I'm wearing is athletic shorts.
Right.
And the muscle cream has penetrated a bad area.
Right.
I've been compromised.
Have you?
And
is that why you're kind of jittery right now?
Oh my God.
I was wondering what was happening over there.
I am burning.
I thought you were really excited about the story.
Yeah, honka. Listen. You remember when Mom used to pack a banana in your lunch bag? And your lunch bag would have a drink spill and your bag was ruined, right? Well, we're not talking about the bag. The banana got ruined.
Right.
So your banana got ruined. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would be okay otherwise.
Right.
Manageable at least.
Right.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Well, we'll just get through this as quick as we can.
Well, no, that's fine. It's fine. I believe in transparency.
I see.
Oh, God.
So, anyway, we have our official report now. It says they did consider other causes like chemical exposure, infectious diseases, but those were all very unlikely, and the weapon is basically what they're thinking it is. So, and I thought that was funny because in this article it doesn't say just diplomats. It said it affected American diplomats and spies.
Oh.
So, kind of, if we had spies over there.
Wait a second.
That's what the article says.
Okay, how did they know it was spies?
I don't know. It says it sickened American spies and diplomats abroad in the past several years. I think that we knew that it sickened the spies. Maybe they didn't know that they were, or maybe they did.
I would have told.
I don't know.
That's like the whole reason they were doing it. I think listen. So. It's not some secret weapon. It's what it is. They're all sitting in the room. What did you say? 17 and a half experts.
19.
19 experts. So they're all sitting in the room, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, boys. So I'm back. I want to see what y'all's came up with. You see, sons. It's 4 of us are women, sir. And 1 of us just declared. Oh, I see. Okay, well, Boys, listen. Here's the deal. I need to know what your expert minds have come up with because, see, the big chief is wanting to know, and he's not going to take it. Not going to take, I don't know, sir. So I need to know what the damn weapon is causing the minds to come out the ears. We haven't really figured. What's going on with the damn lights? Did everybody just see that? The lights just dimmed. Sir, it's been happening the whole time we've been here. And, what happened to Johnson? His mind just came out his ears, sir. Right when the lights went dim. What? Everybody's in here. Smithers isn't in here. Smithers, come in. Got everybody's coffee. I couldn't find a proper stove, so I used that old metal microwave in the back room. The big one. The giant one. Said Lipton on it. Big ass thing. Had a turn dial. Shocked me a little when I turned it. Still made a ticking sound of all things.
Had a little crack in the door.
I don't think it was digital. Could have sworn I seen a mouse carcass near it, but I don't know. Regardless, this stuff's shitty hot. I see. Well, there it is. What are you waiting on? Bring it over. Let's all drink some coffee. Anyway, that's what I think the culprit is.
I think so.
Been a long time since I built that picture.
Yes, it has.
It obviously takes some muscle cream.
Yes.
On Mr. Johnson.
It does. It does.
So we could do that at the first of every show. Suffer we must.
I was going to have some over here and squirt it under the table.
Suffer we must. You don't have to build a picture. I'm using other things whenever the smart people say it. And,
right,
and you're using,
right.
What is it? It's not innuendo. It's not metaphor. Something like both of those things is what I'm using. And it's creating pictures without just splurting it out.
Okay, I gotcha.
God Lord.
All right, last update.
Oh, last update.
Yes. Okay, so we're not really going to talk about this much because we talked about it at the beginning of the show, and it was just the update on the Arecibo Observatory telescope and how on the first it crashed, and there is a very spectacular video that we already mentioned that you can go and watch, and they had already decided to decommission it after the original, damage was done because they just couldn't see how to fix it.
It's hard to believe that something in Puerto Rico was mismanaged.
It's a shame.
It is.
It's a real shame. It's been around a long time.
For all our Puerto Rican listeners down there, I'll be looking forward to your emails. I've seen the numbers and see that you do listen in Puerto Rico. And just so you know, Stacy once lived in Puerto Rico. So it gives me a little bit of a pass.
Right.
Just a wee bit of pass.
I actually never lived in Puerto Rico. My sister was born in Puerto Rico. And my parents lived in Puerto Rico. But I don't think I was conceived yet.
Oh.
No, because I was born in Bermuda. I think they had already moved.
Way to take one for the team there.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I used to live in Puerto Rico.
No, it's okay there, you slimy bastard. You Puerto Rican liar. So you're actually that's right. You the British consulate, Bermuda.
Yes.
Bermuda.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I get for being on here with an unpatriotic person. Go ahead.
All right, so let's move on to this next story. And this is just a story from NASA about something incredibly cool that you can see in the sky in a couple of weeks. And it's an incredibly rare, quote, Christmas star. And it's the first time you can see it in 800 years.
You know what we should do?
What?
Go find some frankincense and gold.
And myrrh.
What if you figure out what myrrh is, then we can bring that too. But we'll get some frankincense and some gold, and we should go follow the star and show up at a nursery or something.
Somewhere. Just
dressed as wise men. You put the big beard on though. And we just act like it's normal as can be. Who's going to say anything in this day and time? If we show up in a full-on turban and stuff, they ain't going to say crap to us.
No.
Do you
think we can get a camel?
Even with your beard. I hope we can get a camel.
I'd like to get a camel
It
or a
ain't
mule.
it's not going to be authentic if we don't have a camel.
That's true. All right, so on the night of
Can we put a beard on the camel?
December, of course we can.
Okay.
If it'll let you, you can do that.
All right.
On the night of December 21st, the winter solstice, Jupiter and Saturn will appear so closely aligned in our sky that they're going to look like a double planet, what people sometimes call the Christmas star. It's very, very bright. And the alignments between...
Jantern.
The alignment between, you're shipping the planets now. The alignments between these two planets are kind of rare. It does occur once every 20 years or so, but this particular one is exceptionally rare because they're going to be so incredibly close, and they have not been this close since March 4th, 1226. So it's a very incredibly rare occurrence. They won't be this close again until March of 2080. So, and then not again after that until 2400. So between December 16th and 25th, if you look in the sky very low near the horizon for about an hour after sunset each evening, you will see them getting closer and closer. And of course, on the 21st will be the closest approach. And they'll look like a double planet. If you have like a telescope or binoculars, you may be able to distinguish each of the planets. I think they said you would even possibly with a telescope be able to see Saturn's rings and the brightest moons and things like that. But it's an incredibly rare event. I think
1226.
It says March 4th, 1226 was the last time it was closer aligned than it is now. And in this particular article, it said between the year 0 and the year 3000, if you just took this 3,000 year chunk of time, it will only be this close or closer 7 times. And 2 of those times would be so close to the sun that you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. So it's definitely something you want to see if you enjoy rare astrological events.
I was just looking up the year 1226 on March the 4th to see if there was. I mean, it was the Dark Ages. I was hoping that somebody wrote something
Are you
down.
Googling something on that?
Well, I was just trying to see if there was anything crazy that happened.
That happened at that time. Yeah.
No.
Because, well, they're very close for several days. It's just that's the closest report.
Well, the whole year, they don't have anything.
Right.
Hence dark.
Exactly. All right, let's go on to a couple of discoveries, and these are really awesome. So this first one is about a supervolcano that may be hiding under the Alaskan Aleutian Islands.
Somebody say peekaboo.
So, according to Diana Roman, who is a volcanologist at Carnegie Institution for Science in Washington, D.C.
I hate Romans that are Vulcans.
She claims that this discovery, even though it has not yet been confirmed, came about from several pieces of evidence that at first seemed a little bit unrelated. Now, they did know beforehand that there were already like 6 volcanoes kind of located near this island chain, under the Alaskan islands. And it turns out that their new data has shown them that those particular volcanoes that they knew about make a ring. And in the middle of that ring, they believe is a huge caldera and that it is a massive super volcano. And it says that the site's accessible only for a short time each year, so they're really in a mad rush to kind of collect data and confirm that it really does exist. And supposedly if this type of volcano erupts or had erupted in the past, it would be amazingly devastating.
Yeah, I mean
super. You don't get the name super volcano.
Not unless Muse writes something about it. But yeah, I mean, it's really gigantic because I bet Alaska Realty didn't do any good just for that.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
It's actually, this is another story that we had got before. It's currently the lead story on Coast to Coast AM. I was looking it up like as we're talking here, and I get the updirt. I get the update pop up from Fox News that Pornhub changed all its rules. Oh,
they had rules?
I mean, apparently, it's like
they changed their rules to what?
I'm more concerned with the fact that was that they thought that deserved a push update.
Right. So just for all of you out there that are Pornhub fanatics, you better check on the new terms and conditions.
So, ginormous supervolcano may be hiding under the Alaskan Islands. Yes. I'm trying to see if there's any more updates since. Yes. Basically, Well, I would put this in the field of maybe it'd be better that we didn't know.
Right.
Like I wish we didn't know about Yellowstone.
Oh, I know, because it's just such a thing. Every time something happens there, then you have to worry about it.
Well, I mean, I don't worry about it.
Right.
But people do, and it sucks for them. But I mean, you can't live in fear.
No, this is true.
Here's the thing: it don't matter how far away you live from there. I think it would be better to live right on top of the hole, because you're gonna want to go instantly. If the thing is as big as they think, and it does go off, then you can either die instantly, or you can die from being eaten from your neighbor when the sky goes black and
there's no food,
and the flora and fauna die off, and we go through the next major catastrophe, and Graham Hancock stands atop Mount Sinai going, "I told all of you." No one listened.
I find it interesting that they were studying these particular volcanoes, and somebody was finally like, "Hey, wait a minute. Do you see that circle there?" And they just noticed that.
Shut up, Smithers. We heard what happened at the consulate.
Well, on the same sort of line as that discovery, there was another discovery under Greenland. Now, recently, I think last year, there was a discovery of over what they called 50 subglacial lakes beneath the Greenland ice sheet.
It's a really big deal, because they thought that this was proof that was where the major catastrophe happened some 12,800 years ago.
Right. So this new find is a little bit of a different nature, but they call it an ancient lake basin, like a dried up lake basin, where there could have been a giant ancient lake under that ice that's estimated to be hundreds of thousands or even millions of years old. And because it's a fossil lake bed, it's something they've never seen before in that part of the world. And there's no way of knowing right now just how ancient it is. Like, it's going to take a lot of testing and probably drilling, and it's probably much older.
It was okay in the 100,000s, and it's like, these bastards know I'm 1,000,000 years old. What would be really cool is number one, can we drill that far? But drilling down that far and bringing up some stuff, I would imagine that if it's a fossil lake bed, that there may be fossils down there.
Right. And that's what they're hoping.
If it's 1,000,000 years old and it's got all the chances of having that, can you imagine to actually have some cousins down there that,
That'd be crazy.
Wouldn't it be cool to finally get some missing links?
Oh, yeah. And they call it a giant time capsule of preserved sediment.
Yeah.
So,
I think here's the deal, right?
Right.
We don't really need the coastal properties. People get all bent out of shape about global warming, okay? And I've seen all these stories about hottest year on record. Okay, so listen, folks. Yes, hottest year on record. But guess what? All right, this is going to be shocking to some of you. We haven't kept records for that damn long. All right? So, I mean, in the whole scheme of things, the scheme of things is, millions and millions and millions of years. And I would dare say the dinosaurs would say, hold my beer. The whole thing is the hottest year on record. But what they're not going to tell you is something I covered on this show a few months back. That when we went into complete 100% lockdown worldwide, okay, the temperature shot up like crazy. A couple of degrees more than it had ever.
Yeah, you didn't really hear a lot about that, did you?
No, I didn't hear a damn thing about it. And the reason was, it seemed that some of these greenhouse gases were actually possibly keeping, keeping the ozone, acting kind of as an ozone, it would seem, to keep us from heating up quite as bad. Who really knows? But something with the carbon.
Right.
And a certain amount of this stuff is good. It's kind of like coal, not to get a political thing.
Right.
But coal is probably the cleanest burning thing there is. And people, automatically, now let me just put it to you gently. I was in that category. When I would hear people say that coal burned clean, I was like, you are out of your mind. Like, I've heard some stupid in my life. And I would just say that, but I said that uneducated.
Right.
So I went and looked into it, and I found out all the things that go through, all the filters and things before it ever, exhausts anything.
Right.
Right. And what comes out is not bad at all.
Right.
It is super clean. Your farts are not as clean as, and God knows they do that a lot. So just saying, it's hottest year on record, yes, with an asterisk.
Right.
Because there was a few months that, for whatever reason, I'm not a scientist, okay, but I do know how to read facts.
Right.
And people that are paid to know this, they published a paper, peer-reviewed, that showed that for the months that we were on full lockdown, that the temperature shot up unexpectedly, and as we eased lockdown restrictions, the temperature came down. So very, very not what they expected.
Right.
And once again, I want to point you to a website called Suspicious Observers, or a YouTube channel, spaceweather.com or .org. But the big thing is Suspicious Observers is your destination on YouTube, and completely you have to get into it and watch it. Watch the series on the sun first, and then go in and start watching some videos. It might take you 3 months to start understanding it.
Right. Yeah, but the more you watch it, I mean, it's very well explained, I think.
Very cool.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay, so one more discovery, and I really liked this one because you and I personally, off the show, have been talking about the Amazon quite a bit recently, and this is about a
Damn that Diana. The Amazon.
This is about a spectacular 8-mile freeze of Ice Age beasts found in the Amazon rainforest. Now, it's thousands of rock art pictures that depict huge Ice Age creatures, such as mastodons, have been found in the Amazon rainforest, and the researchers are dating them to around 11,800 to 12,600 years ago. And this is researchers at Britain's University of Exeter. Now, the paintings are set over 3 different rock shelters, tons of panels. It's in modern-day Colombia, and the rock art shows how the earliest human inhabitants of the area would have coexisted with Ice Age megafauna, like pictures.
I just got to stop. 12,800 years ago, 11,800 to 12,800, the Ice Age was over. We had just come out of the Ice Age. So, you know what happened during the Ice Age?
What's that?
All of the Ice Age beasts died.
Well, and it says here that the pictures showed Ice Age megafauna, with pictures showing giant sloths, mastodons, camelids, horses, and 3-toed ungulates with trunks. They all lived, we know this. Right.
But the problem with this story is they are not wanting to date this before that time period, because there is no way their damn little ice bridge could have been there, and that completely destroys every myth they've tried to teach us all these years about when people came into this continent. So it had to be before then, because all the major flora and fauna all died off. There is no examples that we have found of these mammals and these plants before, after, I apologize, after 12,800 years ago.
Yes, and it says on here that there were other pictures that showed human figures, geometric shapes, and hunting scenes, as well as animals such as like deer and alligators, bats, monkeys, turtles, serpents, just normal kind of animals, and that some of them were painted so high up on the rock that special ladders crafted from forest resources would have been needed.
Or giants.
To paint them. Exactly. And it claims that according to them, at the time the drawings were made, that the Amazon was changing from a patchwork of savannas and tropical forests and thorny scrub into the tropical forest we know today.
Or the Amazon was changing from the modern culture that it was, which they're finding day by day by day by day, that it was massive cities with millions of people and their own dirt that they created because it's not susceptible to have long-term agriculture there.
Right.
So the black earth, as they call it, or dark earth, was and look up dark earth, look up black earth, and it's the dirt that they created scientifically. But, they won't say that either. They say that it's what is it they claim? It's a combination of poop and...
and like where they threw their...
garbage.
Like their leftovers.
And it created this magical dirt that's still around to this day.
Happened to supposedly do this specific bacteria that works.
So again, like if you're watching Ancient Aliens, it's cool to see the story, okay? You got to draw your own conclusions. So on that, it's cool the fact they found those pictures that are old as crap and have the Ice Age beast. and you draw your own conclusions.
All right, so let's go on to the next story. It's a ghost story.
Ghost story.
Yes, now I'm going to tell you about this theater in Jacksonville, Florida, the Florida Theater. And I know you've heard...
the first of like a song. I'm going to tell you a story about this theater in Jacksonville, Florida.
So you've probably heard about this place. There was a show in 2010 called Local Haunts. And during the show, they captured an image of an apparition of a man sitting in the balcony in this particular section 500, row E, seat 2. It was very specific.
Right.
And later on, Fact or Faked used that footage in one of their episodes. And that was one of the cases that they did their own paranormal investigation and tried to recreate it. And of course, they found zero proof that it was faked. Like they could not find a way to fake that footage. So we had already heard about it and seen it and things. So there's this article out about the Florida Theater because they were refurbishing the theater and redoing all of the seating. And the people that own the theater decided that they would save the ghost seats. So instead of changing those seats out, they did send them out of the theater. They had them refurbished, reupholstered and fixed up and made nice, but they kept that seat and the seat beside it. And those are the two seats are different than any other seat in the whole theater. So I thought that was really cool. But I thought it was a really cool story because, that's a very reportedly haunted theater. Most theaters are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stories that go around. People believe that there's the spirit of like an old maintenance manager that was there, that maybe perhaps that was him sitting in that seat. And some people believe that it's a former organist that used to work there but ended up committing suicide later on in his life, and perhaps he is a spirit in that building. But I thought it was really cool that they decided to keep the ghostly history that intact with those particular seats. But it does raise the question, do you think that changing the seats in any way changes the haunted aspect of them?
No, I personally don't. I mean, there's a lot of people that will, and they'll argue that because a lot of people have to put some kind of validity, some kind of solid piece of something to their ghost theories because they want mainstream acceptance. And the thing that I've discovered over the years is that, I don't really care if people accept it or not. That's really up to them. And, if someone's not willing to accept it, they're not going to accept it just because you keep an old seat or just because there's a flashlight that, Jimmy the Watchman, used every single night and just so happened to be killed by it. And so is he attached to that? Well, possibly that would be a great way to use a trigger object that I believe in. I do believe that certain things that have association to the person is apt to bring them because they know that you're there wanting to talk to them. Maybe seat 500 is their favorite seat or they've been seen there or whatever. But I also am not one of these people who believe. Now, I go through the motions of finding out who died in this building.
Right.
Because even in developing shows, they want to know, who's the history, who died here? Why would there be a haunting? Like we've went through this with producers before.
Right.
Of why would that building be haunted? I've looked and I don't see any deaths that happen there. And it's like, well, you're not speaking my language. You know what I mean? Like to me, having someone ask me questions like that is having someone who took one day of how to read hieroglyphics and they learned how to read poop, but they don't know what the rest of it is.
Right.
But they see that there's a door right here and it does have the poop emoji, the Egyptian poop emoji.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, that's a bathroom, Yes, that's probably sound logic. But that's not necessarily the entire story.
This is very true.
And the entire story for me paranormally is the fact that from my experience, I have seen with my own eyes and experienced with my own senses the fact that no one had to die in the building for the building to be massively haunted with people that didn't die there or even we're not even patrons of that place in life. And it's more apt to happen if someone loved the building, if someone worked in the building, if someone died in the building under bad circumstances.
Right.
Yes, it's more apt to happen, and you are more apt to talk to that person or communicate with that person. But the very fact that there's a possibility that it could be Fred, the person who came to see one show there on the best night of Fred's life, the night that he asked his wife to marry him, and she said yes. And he went on to live, 30 beautiful years with his wife, had a beautiful family, but it all happened that one night in that theater. And he can't even remember the name of the show, but that makes him happy. So he goes back to that place. It can,
Right.
I think that there is nothing that stops that from happening. And I'm not so arrogant that I pretend to know that that's possible or the other is possible. So I just try to keep it completely open. So do I think that it helps or that they would be attached to that? I just don't think it's a law.
No, I don't think so either. I agree with you. Like, I feel like if there's somebody attached to that place and that seat is special to them, they're going to sit in that seat regardless if it's there or not. Sort of like people that walk through doorways that aren't there anymore just because that was there when they were alive.
But you've experienced that.
Yes.
And so your paradigm is going to match that forever. You've experienced the hospital that wasn't there.
Right. And
the hospital sounds and the intelligent conversation with people that were in the hospital.
Right.
Telling you to get lost.
Right.
And so because you experienced that, and anybody who's experienced it, and a lot of people listen to this show, you're either athletes or athletic supporters. So, you're probably not going to turn on a paranormal podcast unless you are a paranormal investigator or you you're an enthusiast. You watch all the shows, you know how the stuff works and all this stuff. And let me just go ahead and say something else on the subject of paranormal. I was watching somebody I really love, an actress. I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to shame her. I'm not here to hate on her. I don't hate her because of what she said. But she was talking about reality television. And she goes, oh, by the way, she does not do reality television, nor has she ever.
Right.
Okay. But she goes, by the way, reality TV is not reality. It's all scripted, and that is so false that, and it depends on how you look at it. Are there scripts? Well, not for what to say. And I'm talking about paranormal television.
Right. Right.
There's scripts that say day one, we're going to have John and Stacy shoot here. And we're going to shoot in this room. We're going to shoot in this, we're going to do this. We're going to meet this expert, and this expert at this time, and this time. Right. And then day two, we're going to do this. Day three, we're going to do this. Wear the same clothes every day. We are going to lie and make it seem like it's one night. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, there are TV things that happen because it's
all the
TV.
Recreations and things like that.
And there are editors that make it exciting after the fact, and you have very little say at first on what they do. So they'll make it look exciting, they'll put music in, they'll build the suspense, but guess what? That's because it's television. If you don't want that part, you need to grab a flashlight and go into a place yourself. But I can tell you this much: if you were to watch an actual paranormal investigation, I don't care if it was Zach Baggins and an alligator and a chimpanzee on fire, it would not be exciting because you're going to have around, let's just say you're there from 6 p.m., which is way too late. Okay, so you had to get there. Realistically, you got there at 3, 4 in the afternoon. You set up all your stuff. You got something to eat. You farted around. You made up your plans. Maybe you went and took base temperatures and base readings and all this stuff, and you start investigating really around 9 o'clock. That's when you really get your crap together if you're lucky. And from 9 o'clock until like 4 or 5 a.m., probably 4 a.m. for us, from till 4 a.m., you're gonna have hour-long sessions in rooms, and a lot of times you're gonna have nothing happen. You're gonna sit in that room, sucking in dust and uncomfortable, probably freezing or dying of heat. Right. I've never been at a Goldilocks zone paranormal location.
I think it's a little misleading too, where for time on paranormal shows, they show you what's happening and then they put the EVPs in. And I think sometimes people forget that you're not actually hearing that while you're in that room. Like that's something that you're hearing afterwards that you're putting back into the situation.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of them nowadays have really, they've mastered that technique really well, and they do put them in and they make it exciting that way. Mm-hmm. But that takes weeks of going over all that stuff and finding that stuff and, you know, all that, you know. But I mean, there are a lot more ways now to get the real live stuff. And on paranormal television, you're going to use a lot of SB7s, and you're going to, I mean, this came out of necessity. And I think that the reality TV, as much as you're, I'm an old school paranormal investigator and I hate reality TV, man. I tell you, the hell with them. The hell with them. And, you know, listen, all right, because of paranormal television, it's okay to be a paranormal investigator. Because of paranormal television, we have innovations that have happened in the science, in the pseudoscience of hunting for ghosts, such as, you know, hacked boxes and spirit boxes.
New equipment.
And all this new equipment that's all based on what? Getting real-time responses. Okay, everybody wants to be instant gratification. So you have EM meters now that don't just scientifically measure the electromagnetic field. It measures it with a little alarm that goes off and a light that goes wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. So
we
you
do
know,
like our gadgets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you've got, you know, ways of talking to spirits right now, so they could say, you know, go to hell, you know. And you get all that. And I think none of that would have happened if it hadn't happened for the necessity of making it more exciting. So anyway, you know.
Well, to be fair to this particular actress, she is not a paranormal personality. And I don't think she was speaking specifically about, well, I mean, I know she wasn't speaking specifically about just so people know. It wasn't like we heard someone dogging paranormal television. She was just saying reality TV. And there are reality TV shows out there that are obviously scripted, like ones about families and, you know, like The Bachelorette, things like that.
Yeah, well, and there's probably paranormal ones that are.
There probably are.
Here's the thing, just like my rule goes with everything. I haven't been on the set of every one.
Right.
The ones that, you know, there's ones I trust, and there's ones I know for sure, and then there's ones that I wouldn't trust as far as I could throw you. Right. And there's a few of those.
I think she was making a generalization though. And
yeah, it is.
Which she shouldn't have done. So
it is. It's the same thing as saying, oh, all pro athletes are, you know, drug abusers. Right. If you're a football player sitting there, you would be like, yeah, dude, you know, we don't, none of us, you know, whatever. Right. You're going to take it personal.
Exactly. All right. Well, I just have a few final tidbits for you, some interesting little end stories. And this one is just hilarious. It's about a woman who made a creepy discovery after exploring her new home. So she was walking through her new house. They just bought it. I don't know how they didn't see this, but in her basement, and there's a picture of this, you can look it up. In her basement, in one of the bricks is a little small doll face. Right. Like a doll's head. And it is the weirdest and creepiest looking thing that you can find in the basement, nonetheless.
So somebody cut a brick out and put a little doll head there.
Well, it's in one of the bricks, like a cement brick. I don't even know how it got in there. Like I saw the picture and I could not even figure it out. And it came out on Twitter. Someone was asking about scariest at-home discoveries, and so she posted that on there, and I think they went viral for it. It was just this tiny face in the basement wall, and I think she showed it to her sister, and her sister was like, nope, we're moving out. We can't live here with this creepy doll.
I think the pandemic, to answer your question, being on lockdown, people have discovered new things about their families and their homes that they never knew before.
I think so too.
I think we're going to have a whole lot of new families and new homes next year.
Well, on the same kind of storyline, I found this other story that I thought was hilarious. And it's about this couple who had bought a house in New York. And it's an over 100-year-old home. And they were told when they bought it that it was built by a notorious bootlegger. And, you know, it was like their little small town legend, right?
Did I say bootlegger? I meant to say bootlicker. Yes, Clarence was a notorious bootlicker, and he made his way to the top of the accounting firm by licking the boots.
Well, the house was built in 1915, and recently they had to do a home renovation. And as they were doing the work, they found more than 66 bottles of whiskey from the Prohibition era hidden in the walls and the floorboards of their home.
Wow. They still have whiskey in them?
Yes.
That was some dangerous stuff.
Absolutely. They found all kinds of liquor, and they realized,
I guess we know how many bottles are on the wall now.
that all the rumors were true. So the original owner of the house was a German man who was known as Count Adolf Humpfner. And they said he found out he was he was like a man of mystery around town. He took part in a lot of scandals. He
was a name like Adolf.
Kind of, yeah, German man. He kind of kept to himself, but then he died a sudden death and left behind all that liquor in the house, in the walls, and they found tons of it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can still drink that. You think you can?
No. You don't want to drink liquor and whiskey from the old days. It's not like finding a French reserve of, all the wine.
Right.
Even wine. Like you go back to like wine from ancient Greece. There was people that died, man. I mean, they didn't have the mix right all the time.
I suppose when you have whiskey like that and it's just kept under your house, it can't be. It says it's a brand of Scottish whiskey labeled Old Smuggler Gaelic Whiskey. And they still make it today. They still make that whiskey today, but this is just from back then. Well, I mean,
if it's an old bourbon, then it's only going to get better.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
I don't know. That's just strange. I don't know if I could chance it. That's a cool find, though.
I mean, if I found a barrel of bourbon from that had been lost in time, I might start drinking again.
You might. Well, this just goes to show you, do not put aside the history of your old house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely find out what it is. And look in the walls in the basement before you move in.
There's some cat living in Europe right now going, old house. 100 years old. I scoff at your old. We find 100-year-old and we're like, honey, we got a new one.
All right, last story. This is a story from Zimbabwe. And it's about a bridge, a haunted bridge. And according to the residents in this little town, that there is a mysterious creature that lives near this bridge in this river. And recently, men have gone missing in the river. They'll go down there. There'll be people.
Is it like a siren?
I don't know. I believe one of the rumors is mermaid.
That's how I'm going to go.
Because it's men. It's all men.
I'd be so screwed. If there was a siren, like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" type siren,
right?
Just like snapping a towel and singing to me,
right?
I'd be so gone.
Well, they say that the problem started back in the 1970s.
They done went and turned him into a toad.
With males. And then they have to catch him and put him in a box. So it started back in the... I knew it was coming. Go ahead, finish.
No, that's okay. It's all right.
It started in the 1970s with male learners that were mysteriously drowning in the river. And at that time, some students from a primary school, which is close to the river, would go there to collect water because the school didn't have any water. And while they were there, they would claim to have seen a fish in the water, and then they would drown. And some of the kids that didn't drown would run back to the school and tell their teachers that this person had drowned. And another weird thing about it is the water is not very, very deep. Like, they don't understand how grown men can drown in this amount of water.
Right.
So it's very mysterious. And I think that the next step now is that they are attempting to bring in a pastor from the Zion Apostolic Church in Central Africa. And they want him to come. He's kind of like a prophet or psychic or something like that. And they sort of want him to come in and assess the situation because they have no idea what to do about it. It's
awesome.
Very strange. I feel like this might be one of the situations where they need to bring the guy in from River Monsters just to check.
The guy from River Monsters play heard about it. He's a noob.
Just to check. Because it's amazing what could be living in a few inches of water.
Oh, yeah.
That could drag you under. But, I'm not going to discount the mermaid thing because it is all men that are going missing.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, like I said, man, it's a siren. It's absolutely a siren. It's almost
Not seek the treasure. It's a bushwhack.
It's a bushwhack.
They're fixing an ambush. Do not seek the treasure.
Do not.
Do not seek the treasure.
That's my favorite part of that movie. I love. Well, I don't know if it's my favorite part. That movie's fantastic.
Yeah, it's
all the way through.
It's a trip, man.
All right. Well, that is all of my news.
Speaking of trips, what a trip that was.
Yes.
Listen, if you like what you heard, go to patreon.com/paranormal sideshow and show us some love, help support the show, and, make sure that we're here next week. So, from my lovely wife, Stacy, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.